and a very beautiful community. Let's do a really important informational exercise about what the hell is going on with Trump and what's going on with the discourse about where Trump is and why his public appearances have been so absent or distant for a period of days that feels atypical in the context of all of his interaction with the media since 2015 on. I want to start by two ways of grounding us. First of all, know the danger of speculation. I'm going to push this in two directions. I'm going to be pushing against people who say there's nothing to talk about and pushing against people who speculate too much. So tuck yourselves in, please, because this is really important. We're not messing around here. And we are messing around. We're going to probably make some jokes, but this is also serious, okay? Double-mindedness. We're big on double-mindedness. So I did Twitter it the other day, mocking Trump as dead or regrettably alive makes you his victim. It clouds politics, breeds mistrust in information, shifts responsibility from citizens to fate. Same goes for health issues. If you speak about his health irresponsibly, and then he looks perfectly good back in a few days, that undermines not you, it just undermines the economy of trust in discourse, right? So we want to be responsible, and it's okay often to raise alarms. Well, what is happening to my president? We would right to raise alarms about Biden, even though a lot of people, including a lot of you, were twitching about it, even though Biden's cognitive decline had been clear for years. But you've got to be responsible if we go there. So that's the first poll, right? Let's not over conspiracyficate ourselves. Second poll is let's not dismiss the idea that there's something to talk about when there indeed is, and call people who are talking about it necessarily conspiracy theorists. So let's watch this clip from this 29-year-old young woman who is, let me just Google her up to be absolutely sure the formal title. BBC disinformation and social media correspondent Mariana Spring, born in 1996. And her position is BBC. Now, notice this is a very junior person in an organization with a lot of brilliant and senior people in it. So she is, her role is something like disinformation and social media correspondent. Is that what it is? I just don't want to get this wrong. BBC disinformation reporter Mariana Spring is how the BBC calls her, but she's also doing social media breakdowns. Okay, so let's watch this. This is going to be really horrendous, absolutely horrific.
Story here, inverted commas story, is social media has been in a bit of a frenzy, as it often is, analysing pictures of Donald Trump. Donald Trump has been the focus of particular scrutiny because there were images which have actually popped up before that show he appeared to have bruising on his right hand, and then it looked like it had been covered up by makeup a bit. And the White House came out to say, look, this is to do with handshaking. There's nothing going on here, nothing to see here. Obviously, we also know that health in general is a topic that presidential officers don't tend to talk about very much, nor the White House, but that does not stop the conspiracy theory frenzy and unfounded theories that have been spreading, focused on Donald Trump's health. They wondered why he hadn't been doing engagements for a few days, but then he popped up playing golf with his granddaughter, Kai, and seemed, fine and very much playing golf.
We do know I should...
This is really difficult for me because I don't like attacking young people. So let's attack the institution. This is extraordinarily disgraceful. Extraordinarily disgraceful. And just calamitous for the BBC. You're not a child at 19 or 29 or 39 because of your biological age. You're a child if you behave like a child, man or woman, right? child behavior. So not to attack too much, but to say, let's not be a child by 39 if we're a child at 29. But for the BBC, never put anybody like that in a position remotely close to dealing with fact-checking or disinformation, unless you do put them in once they improve, but by 32 they could get their act together. So I believe in aspiration, in development always. And even in integrity, you can gain a bit of grounding and become less bad. But doesn't stop the conspiracy theory frenzy. That is an unbelievable thing to say for a correspondent, especially for a disinfo correspondent, because we've had the White House making a very implausible claim about Trump's marks on his hands being a product of handshaking. We have had lots of irresponsible speculation about Trump's absence, but also lots of responsible speculation about it. To bucket it all as conspiracy theory is basically to be somebody who would have probably bucketed Biden's cognitive decline as conspiracy theory too. You cannot say that. There is nothing journalistic in this. It's just completely epistemically ungrounded. And it gets worse. I've just looked. I don't see any evidence that Trump has been playing golf. Maybe I'm missing something. But what is being reported is that he was seen going to play golf, and that the pictures with Kai were pictures taken a while ago. So Trump may have played golf recently. He may not have. I don't see any evidence either way. What I see evidence of is Trump moving around and potentially going to a golf course. You can't say that he has been seen golfing if he hasn't, as the disinformation correspondent. And you can't, for all the reasons we'll put on the table now, criticize people who are genuinely raising important questions. So let's get this going properly. The background picture, of course, is that Vance is worse than Trump if Vance is president of the United States. So you've got to be aware of that, because he'll be more organized in his authoritarianism. So the hand bruising has been claimed to be a product of some mild medications such as aspirin and handshaking, right? That has not plausibly convinced any serious reporter. So there is evidence of things being obscured. Hence the disgrace of the BBC putting this 29-year-old in this position where she talks like a child in the middle of a raging crisis of trust. Now, we also know that if there were health issues, Trump would be particularly uninclined to be transparent about them for two reasons. He's acting as president more than he's being president, number one. Number two, and that's part of his narcissistic personality disorder, about which we talked about on the main channel. And virility and fascization go together. Action is very important, and action that looks strong and beautiful and virile is very important to authoritarians. And therefore, it's especially difficult for Trump to talk about his health problems. Now, there's also another risk here, and that's that people are so angry about how unforthcoming the Dems were about Biden's cognitive decline that they swing over the other way and now come to be in denial about the possibility of raising legitimate questions about Trump. Now, Trump's health has been discussed in a thread on Twitter X that's gone viral. I won't share it with you. I've just heard Kyle Kolinsky read through it on his channel. 2 or 3 things Kyle said were sloppy. Kyle is beautiful. He is very beautiful, but he said a few sloppy things. There are a lot of sloppy and speculative things in this thread. That's why I don't want to speak to you as though there's genuine speculation. There's a very particular health issue going on. That's too much for me. It's also comical to note the summary of Trump's health report. President Trump's days include participation in meetings, public appearances, press availability, and frequent victories on the golf course, in golf events. Now, there is absolutely no mention in his public records, as far as I can tell, about stimulants or Adderall, even though Trump gives a very strong ADHD presentation in a way that is very responsible to discuss. And quite frankly, it is political and medical negligence that we're not seeing this, because it creates distrust. Why are we seeing all the evidence of ADHD, but it's not mentioned at all? Is that because Trump is unaware about it? Possible. Is that because Trump is semi-aware of it but doesn't frame it as ADHD? Possible. But it raises very significant trust issues that we're seeing somebody with all the symptoms of unmanaged ADHD, and in a way that's not just a personal matter, it's impulsivity that affects Trump's conduct. And of course, interacts very badly, as I discussed on the main channel, with the narcissistic personality disorder. But also, being transparent about this would actually make Trump better placed to explain some things that aren't suspicious, that look suspicious. For instance, it may well be that the sideways meandering on the red carpet before Putin arrived, that you've all seen, is actually an expression of neurodiversity. Plenty of neurodiverse people cannot walk in a straight line unless they really concentrate. So he may well have lots of benign explanations available to him if he were transparent about this, but of course he can't be. Lots of people are talking about some kind of droop in Trump's face. I don't see any evidence of that except for aging. Politically, what I would say, I'm going all over the place, but it's okay. I would say that he is losing control of the media, because look, we've now got a bunch of speculation. Some of it is responsible, some of it is conspiratorial and off, about Trump, whereas normally it's Trump who directs these post-truth fires at people. Now he is a victim of a kind of fire that's partly post-truth, partly not. So that's my 2 cents, and as Trump randomly tweeted at 9:54, but I don't know what time zone, good night.